In this week's Vaticano, Pope Francis beatifies Paul VI in the closing Mass of the Synod on the Family. We hear from participants about the discussions. Also, Pope Francis stays focused on the plight of Christians in the Middle East during a consistory. And friends of Blessed Paul VI tell us more about him. Meet an OBGYN who has been successfully helping couples conceive naturally and in line with church teaching for nearly 30 years. And take a look inside the Vatican's art exhibition dedicated to Paul VI. All this, plus an archbishop of Taiwan tells us about the country's stance on cohabitation and same-sex unions, and Latin Americans pray together for the family. Coming up on Vaticano. Giovanni Battista Montini, better known as Pope Paul VI, has taken a major step towards being proclaimed a saint. Pope Francis officially beatified him during this Mass in St. Peter's Square on October 19th. It was also the closing Mass of the two-week Synod of Bishops on the Family. After the death of Pope John XXIII, it was Paul VI who continued and concluded the Second Vatican Council, which reformed the Church nearly 50 years ago.
Paul VI truly rendered to God what is God's by devoting his whole life to the sacred, solemn, and grave task of continuing in history and extending on earth the mission of Christ, loving the Church, and leading her so that she might be a loving mother of the whole human family, and at the same time the minister of its salvation. Before the advent of a secularized and hostile society, he could hold fast, with farsightedness and wisdom, and at times doing so alone, to the helm of the bark of Peter, while never losing his joy and his trust in the Lord.
La gioia e la fiducia del Signore.
Benedict XVI was also at the Mass, his fifth public appearance since retiring as Pope. Right after Mass, Pope Francis led the prayer of the Angelus and had a few more words about the new Blessed. It was World Mission Sunday, and he remembered the missionary spirit of Paul VI.
He was a staunch supporter of the mission ad gentes, to the nations. And the apostolic exhortation, Evangelii Nuntiandi, in particular, is a testimony to the way in which he intended to awaken the enthusiasm and commitment to this mission of the Church. This exhortation is still valid, and it retains all its relevance. It is important to consider this aspect of the pontificate of Paul VI. Synod means journeying together. And indeed, pastors and lay people from every part of the world have come to Rome, bringing the voice of their particular churches, in order to help today's families walk the path of the gospel with their gaze fixed on Jesus. It has been a great experience in which we have lived synodality and collegiality and felt the power of the Holy Spirit who constantly guides and renews the Church. For the Church is called to waste no time in seeking to bind up open wounds and to rekindle hope in so many people who have lost hope.
One synod down, one to go. After October's two-week-long Synod of Bishops on the Family, the Church has a year of discussion and prayer ahead before a second synod next year. It will be based on the Relatio Synodi, the document that summarizes the discussions that took place during this synod. Before its conclusion, Pope Francis gave his final statement.
It has been a journey. And like every journey, there were moments of running fast, as if wanting to conquer time and reach the goal as soon as possible, and other moments of fatigue, as if wanting to say, enough, and other moments of enthusiasm and ardor. There were moments of profound consolation, listening to the testimony of true pastors, who wisely carry in their hearts the joys and the tears of their faithful people, and moments of consolation and grace and comfort, hearing the testimonies of the families who have participated in the Synod and have shared with us the beauty and the joy of their married life. A journey where the stronger feel compelled to help the less strong, where the more experienced are led to serve others, even through confrontation. And since it is a journey of human beings, with the consolations, there were also moments of desolation, of tension, and temptation.
Ci sono stati anche altri momenti di desolazione, di tensione e di tentazioni.
And the Synod participants gave him a 4-minute-long standing ovation.
Well, what the Pope Francis was saying is, look, we are walking together. This process has been about listening to each other and listening to God. It was actually reminded me, he's a Jesuit, of a Jesuit giving a spiritual retreat. So you're halfway through the retreat and he sits you down and he says, this is what we've done so far and this is what we're going to do next. And he lists the temptations, as he puts it, for these Synod Fathers in this whole process, not just the last 2 weeks, but over the next year. So, don't live in the tension, I think he was saying. Look, these things are not easy, but we have to let God and the Holy Spirit into this process.
For this Colombian lawyer and university professor who also took part in the Synod discussions, education is the key to the future of the family.
I think formation is so important. We have to educate ourselves. We have to educate citizens that want to be present in the world. We have to unite ourselves. Sometimes we may even have different positions in terms of understanding the gospel message. But the most important thing is that we are aware that everyone has a commitment, and that it's not the other person's commitment, but rather my own. That's why I encourage young people and parents to defend the lives of children, the right to education, and in a positive way to see that not all is lost, but rather that there are a lot of things we have achieved. Latin America has advanced in educating on poverty, although we still have much to do. And that is also a gospel message, to work for children's rights and women's rights. And I think this is a big responsibility we should take up as world citizens and also as church faithful.
So the first step in a 2-year process has been made. It's all looking forward to next year's Synod, from which the Pope's guidance will chart the course for outreach to families for decades to come. In a consistory originally scheduled to speak about causes of candidates for beatification, the Pope used it as an occasion to talk about the ongoing crisis in the Middle East. He stressed the importance of constant prayer, effective advocacy, and specific attention to the plight of Christians there. 86 cardinals and patriarchs were present. All the Oriental patriarchs participated and had a chance to speak.
We spoke about the situation of Christians that are facing a very, very critical phase in their history, after this event of the so-called Islamic State, and after the crisis in Syria and that of Iraq, and the tensions in Lebanon.
The Holy See Press Office Director, Father Lombardi, then briefed journalists on the October 20th consistory.
They all showed a lot of gratitude to the Pope for his very frequent interventions on the topic. And also at this moment, I saw real warmth and support by the Pope and of the College of Cardinals on their situation, so that they could express, share, and feel encouraged by these representatives of the Universal Church.
The Holy See Press Office Director also revealed that Pope Francis will proclaim a Sri Lankan a saint during his visit to the country in January. For many people today, Paul VI may just be a historical figure. For 2 French cardinals living in Rome, he was a friend. Cardinal Roger Echegaray remembers Pope Paul VI for his missionary spirit.
The Papa Paul VI
I have many, many memories of Pope Paul VI and of memories together with him, but they remain cold. I would never want to compare who was a better pope. I've met, I don't know how many, but I think that for me, Pope Paul VI, I don't say that he was superior to the others. Each one has his own charism, but I think that Pope Paul VI is still very little known, and it would be of great advantage to delve into his spirituality. There are words that one can easily use to describe him that are very fair to say about Paul VI, and that is that he was a mystic. Pope Paul VI was really a mystic. I have the memory of how important the name of Paul was for him. Paul the Apostle, the missionary. I can tell you of a very precise memory, the apostolic mission that the Pope had, who seemed so shy, who spoke so little, but he trusted many.
Meanwhile, Cardinal Paul Poupart also knew Blessed Pope Paul VI. The former member of the Roman Curia said Paul VI led the Church through the most difficult time in history. He called him the first modern man to be elected Pope.
Io ho scritto qualche che era il primo uomo moderno divenuto Papa. Perché?
I wrote a few times saying he was the first modern man to become Pope. Why do I say that? Because I remember his passionate homily at St. Peter's on the first day of his Petrine ministry. As the passage in the homily was in French, and I remember well works written in French, he said this formidable voice. It was an adjective that he accepted, and the first act as Pope was a question, as he would often do. Will we know how to listen to the voices of the modern world? And that is how his first encyclical letter was born, Ecclesiam Suam, dated August 6th, the feast of the Transfiguration, prefiguring that he had been called to the Eternal Father. This encyclical is dedicated to dialogue. To transmit the truth to the world, we have to dialogue. And that is where his encyclical was born, which said that the Church, before speaking, should listen, speak, and dialogue. But on the dialogue of salvation in order to bring the good news of the gospel.
Ma il dialogo di salvezza per portare la buona novella del Vangelo.
These are the memories kept alive of Paul VI, a pope much loved by Pope Francis. Pope Paul VI wrote a famous document called Humanae Vitae, based on married love, responsible parenthood, and rejecting artificial forms of birth control. Nearly 30 years ago, this couple founded the Pope Paul VI Institute for the Study of Human Reproduction in Omaha, Nebraska.
What we set out to do was to establish a Mayo Clinic-like program that had which was for the evaluation and treatment of reproductive disorders in women, and to be able to do this in a way which is completely consistent with Catholic teaching. And we've not only done that, we've done it incredibly. I mean, I can't tell you how, I don't know exactly the right word, except that how impressed I am with the progress we've made, because we didn't set out to do that. We just set out to take one step at a time, and it kept building and building and building, and now we have a whole new women's health science, completely consistent with Catholic teaching, which has better success rates for the most part than what the general medical community provides.
He developed NatPro technology, a successful way of treating infertility, with his wife always by his side.
It brings me great joy as a woman to see other women now who understand for the first time really in the history of the world, this is the first generation, this generation really, to truly understand how their bodies work, and it's revolutionary.
Paul VI inspired the Hilgers to do what they do, and his beatification was another reason for encouragement.
Lord, make known to all the wisdom of your cross by the witness of the martyrs.
It brings a lot of emotion out of me personally. Sometimes it's hard for me to talk about it because he suffered so much. And he was an incredibly courageous man. And I personally have no doubt that he's in heaven. And I am deeply grateful for the Church recognizing him as being blessed, and I hope someday he'll be canonized. For us, he's our namesake. Every time we come to Rome, we go to his tomb, and we tell him, you got us into this mess, now you get us out of it. Now, my spiritual life may not be that of a pope, but it's very practical. And look, the mere fact that we've been open for 29 years within an environment that has been 99% antagonistic is itself a miracle. And it won't be recognized such for his canonization, but I will tell you it's been a tough road on the one hand, but he's been there all through it and he's interceded for us.
The name of the institute will soon be changed to Blessed Paul VI Institute. Now, a quick look at the Pope's agenda. He met with the president of South Korea on October 17, 2 months after his visit to her nation. President Park Geun-hye, South Korea's first female president, and was baptized a Catholic when she studied at a Jesuit-run university. Pope Francis met with another Asian leader the following day, the Prime Minister of Vietnam. It was the second visit of Nguyen Thanh Dung to the Vatican after he met with Benedict XVI 7 years ago. Diplomatic relations were broken in 1975, but after visits of over 20 Vatican delegations, Nguyen visited Benedict and diplomatic ties were re-established. In 2009, a joint Vietnam Holy See working group was established to work toward formal diplomatic ties. They met last month for the 5th time. Pope Francis and the Prime Minister spoke of the Church's committed contributions to the development of the country. Then on Wednesday, his weekly general audience at St. Peter's Square. There he explained what true love is all about.
It's not simply about a way of speaking, but rather of an expression full of content. The Church is a masterpiece of the Holy Spirit, that instilling in each of us the new life of the risen Lord brings us together in unity, to the point of becoming one body, built on the communion of love. It is in baptism where we really unite ourselves to Christ as head and to our brothers as members of the same body. Paul, the apostle, discovers a reflection of the depth of this link in Christian marriage, which he compares to the union of Christ with his church. True love, which creates communion, does not show off, nor is it conceited, nor does it keep count of received evil, and it enjoys doing good. It does not envy, but it rather takes others into consideration more than oneself. It suffers with the least and the needy, and it values and recognizes those who make the most humble and hidden service.
In preparation for the beatification of Pope Paul VI, there were 2 exhibitions of artwork commemorating him. One was this one, organized by the Vatican Museums in the exhibition space inside the colonnade of St. Peter's. Its title, Paul VI and the Artists, You Are the Custodians of Beauty in the World. The director of the Vatican Museums, Antonio Paolucci, was also there. Pope Paul VI inaugurated the Vatican Museum's collection of modern art in 1973. This exhibition allows visitors to revisit the time when Pope Paul VI met with artists in the Sistine Chapel. He asked them to renew and seal the relationship between church and art. His most memorable quote to them was, "We must leave to your voices the strong and powerful song of which you are capable." The Archbishop of Taipei, the capital of Taiwan, is head of 40,000 Catholics. He was relieved that problems were pointed out and addressed during the Synod on the Family.
I will tell our people that the church already is aware, have been aware that the problem existing and the family's problems. And the church noticed that the seriousness of those problems. So at least we here in this synod, we try to tackle, to face all these difficulties. And we say something. So many people said a lot of things about this problem. Maybe some already said the solution. But so far we don't have conclusion. But so far we have a direction. At least I know this synod already expressed our concern, compassion, even mercy. Oh, we find out that the problem like homosexual marriage, the cohabitation, polygamy, yeah. It's kind of universal, yeah. Although polygamy problem is more centered in Africa, but cohabitation is everywhere.
The Archbishop stressed that his people stand by marriage as a union between a man and a woman.
Kind of movement is everywhere in the world, and it's a co-union or a federation. And the church in Taiwan is already aware the seriousness of this one. Instead of calling the father and mother in the family, they will be called parents. And instead of one man and one woman marriage, there might be two men or two women. Actually, this is against the church, the so-called marriage weddings. So the church surely cannot accept this. And we have to protect the wholeness of the family.
During the second week of the Synod, a Mass was held at the Vatican for Latin American bishops and cardinals. Several Latin American cardinals were there to pray for the family.
Está convencido que lo mejor de la vida humana se vive en la experiencia de la familia.
The Mass was presided by Mexican Cardinal Jose Francisco Robles Ortega in the Vatican's parish church of St. Anne's.
Family is of vital importance, not only for Mexico or for any given nation, but for humanity itself. It is a real heritage, the foundation of society and of humanity. Fortunately, in Mexico and in Latin America, the institution of the family is very well positioned in the mind, in the love and in the will of the people. However, there are attacks that the family suffers, as in the rest of the world. But it is still a much loved and appreciated value, and a lot needs to be done to sustain it, to strengthen it, and to defend it from those attacks.
At the Synod, the Mexican brought up a crucial topic.
My contribution was to highlight the process of marriage preparation so that it is taken up as a commitment of faith, a commitment for life, in order to put in place the foundation of a stable family, and that will do a lot of good for society. So my topic was the formation before marriage.